the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Hey, everyone. Good morning and happy Tuesday, December 7th, 2021. We are here with another awesome episode of the Practitioner Brief here on the CyberHub podcast. We're live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Good morning to everyone who's tuning in, afternoon or evening, wherever you may be from, to our global audience. If you're listening on your favorite podcast listening platform after the fact, thank you so much. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so yet and give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast listening platform. We've got a busy show today. First off, we're going to be talking about SolarWinds. France talking about another threat actor group that is part of the SolarWinds breach. And we're starting to see we're a week away from the 1-year anniversary of SolarWinds. So something that's really important to keep in mind, okay? Furthermore, Microsoft seizing a bunch of domains. SPAR Stores in England shut down after a cybersecurity breach, and we'll talk about that as well. And the Eltima SDK creates multiple vulnerabilities for cloud providers. We'll talk about that as well. The supply chain of your cloud provider. A week away from the 1-year anniversary of SolarWinds. Why not have that conversation now? Why wait? All that and more on today's show that's brought to you by our friends over at KnowBe4. Please check them out. You'll see more about them in the notes. And next week, we've got a very, very special show. Rosa Summers will be joining me from KnowBe4, former CIA. We're going to be talking about NSO Group and offensive cyber capabilities. So you don't want to miss it. It's going to be awesome. All right. Without further ado, let's grab our cup of coffee. It's time to drink whatever it is you're drinking this morning. I've got my double espresso. Whatever's yours, put it in the comments. Love to know. It's coffee cup cheers. All right, let's get right into today's show. SolarWinds attackers using new malware in attacks that serve Russian interests. So a few things are going on in Russia, and cybersecurity is top of mind for many. 1 year has passed since the discovery of the SolarWinds breach. And despite their activities being analyzed and exposed by cybersecurity companies and researchers, the threat actors that launched the attack continue to target government and private businesses with information and data they feel could be useful to the Russian government. The IR and threat intelligence firm Mandiant on Monday published a new report describing the threat group's most recent activities. The company tracks the threat actors' apparently related activity clusters as UNC 2452, UNC 3004, 2652. Microsoft tracks the group as Nobelium. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. While others have linked the attacks to APT29 and Cozy Bear, there's a wide consensus that the initial activity at SolarWinds was at least done by SolarWinds, by Russia. All right. Now, there's evidence of China being a part of it as well. We'll get to that as well. Mandiant revealed that the hackers have been using a new custom downloader named C-Loader. The malware is installed using the Cobalt Strike beacon implant, and it serves as a downloader that decrypts a shellcode payload executed in the compromised device memory. The Microsoft currently tracks the malware as a variant of Vapor Rage, which the tech giants described in May. However, the experts have pointed out that while the C-Loader does share some similarities with Vapor Rage, they both function as a downloader for a second stage encrypted payload. C-Loader has junk code and other changes to make analysis more difficult. C-Loader uses AES-256 to encrypt payloads, whereas Vapor Rage relies on a basic XOR algorithm. So these guys have not gone anywhere. Let's talk a little bit about this. So France has also issued this warning. There's a lot of concern about Russian activity at the moment. Part of it has to do with the fact that Russia is stacking up troops on the Ukrainian border. Those troops on the Ukrainian border are showing the only reason you would stack troops on a border is if you're planning to invade a country. And so we know that Russia was able to get to Crimea about 7 years ago during the Ukrainian Revolution. Now it seems to be that they are planning an all-out invasion. So a lot of these activities are making a lot of people very, very nervous. Russia could be trying to use cybersecurity as a political leverage in their quest to ensure that Ukraine never ends up in the side of the EU or part of NATO, which is a significant concern for Russia. So something to really keep in mind right now is this geopolitical factor with Russian threat activities is critical. If you're in an industry, if you work for a company that has any sort of relations with government or has any high-profile members that could be exposed, they're looking at you right now and they're targeting you. This is their distraction from the activities they're trying to do themselves. So keep that in mind. The guys from SolarWinds, like I said yesterday, and I said it yesterday, we still don't know the full impact of SolarWinds, but Russia and China went after SolarWinds for a specific reason, because SolarWinds had the keys to the kingdom to so many organizations and government agencies. It allowed them through SolarWinds to get to Microsoft, which from there allowed them to get access to everything and anything they wanted, including Microsoft Exchange, the proxy logon vulnerability that we had earlier this year, and so forth. This is all kind of, think of this as a chess match. The Russians love to play chess, and so do the Chinese, and this is part of it as well. China's also massing up rhetoric and troops towards possible Taiwan invasion as well. And don't be surprised that if the world's so busy with Russia and the Ukraine, that the Chinese don't just overtly take over Taiwan as well, and they'll use cyber. Again, they're using cyber tools as a political leverage, meaning if I shut down your electric grid, if I go after one of your big retailers, if I send my cyber force to disrupt your people's lives, they're not going to care about what's going on in the Ukraine or Taiwan. They just want to continue and live their lives. Cyber becomes the unpredictable, the joker in the deck of cards. And that's why we're seeing all these stories, folks, right now. So let's get to some of your comments this morning. Good morning, Mr. John Dela Cruz. Good morning, David Misi. I'm glad you're drinking coffee, buddy. What is it? A double espresso today. Good morning, everyone. Awesome. Good morning from our friends over in Poland and Tadaus. Thank you so much for being here. Good morning to Mr. McQuiggan, who I look forward to having on the show later this month as well, folks. So stay tuned for that. All of this leads us to our next story. Microsoft has seized multiple domains that China's threat actor named Nickel has been employing to target organizations in the U.S. and worldwide. The tech giant took over websites after filing pleadings with the U.S. District Court, the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia, which quickly granted an order in the regard. While the move will prevent the group's access to some of its victims, it's unlikely to put an end to the Chinese activities. In activity Microsoft has been tracking since 2019. Nickel has been using the now seized websites to execute attacks on victims in a total of 29 countries in Europe, Central and South America, the Caribbean, and North America, mostly for harvesting intelligence from government agencies, human rights organizations, and think tanks. China wants to distract everyone and know what they're thinking about what they're doing with the Uyghur Muslims in their country, what they're doing globally to destabilize. Their support of the Taliban in Afghanistan, their support of the Iranian regime in Iran. China is behind every single evil regime that's out there that feels empowered, including the folks over in Venezuela. So keep that in mind, that they are after this type of data. This is the kind of stuff they deploy. They're gaining long-term access to target organizations. They're doing this by targeting internet-facing web applications on vulnerable, unpatched on-premise Exchange and SharePoint systems, and not new vulnerabilities in Microsoft products. They're also using vulnerable VPN appliances like Pulse Secure and stolen credentials to compromise the targets. Hard to detect malware that helps it with their intrusions as well. Backdoors deployed by the groups can harvest IP, addresses, OS versions, language ID, computer name, username. They launch processes. They can download, upload files, and execute shellcode. To date, Microsoft's filed 24 lawsuits against threat actors, including 5 against nation states adversaries, which has allowed them to take down nearly 10,000 malicious websites, including 600 employed by state-sponsored attacks as well. So that's extremely significant. Now we'll go to the psychological part of what the Russian and Chinese do. SPAR, which is a grocery store out in northern England, has had to shut down hundreds of stores and switch to cash only after a cyber attack. Approximately 330 SPAR shops in northern England faced severe operational problems following a weekend cyber attack, forcing many stores to close or switch to cash only payments. SPAR, which is an international supermarket franchise that operates 13,320 stores in 48 countries, but the recent security incident only affects stores in part of northern England. It's probably the only piece of their network that they had there, according to Lawrence Hunt & Co., which operates 25 branches across Lancashire, UK. The total IT outage has affected Till's credit card payment processing system and still prevents them from accessing emails as well. A Preston-based food distributor, James Hall & Co., which serves 600 SPAR stores in Lancashire, is also affected by the attack and stated the following in local media. They're aware of an online attack on their IT systems. Again, it's escalating this all the way down. There's been no request for ransom as of yet, meaning we don't know if this is ransomware or just a simple business disruption type of attack. Once there's more information, I'll be sure to share it and post it on our LinkedIn page as well, folks. So stay tuned there. Finally, the Eltima SDK is containing multiple vulnerabilities that are affecting several cloud service providers. Cybersecurity researchers have disclosed multiple vulnerabilities in a third-party driver software developed by Eltima that's been unwittingly inherited by cloud desktop solutions like Amazon Workspaces, Acoops, and NoMachine, and could provide attackers a path to perform an array of malicious activities. These vulnerabilities allow attackers to escalate privileges, enabling them to disable security products, override system components, corrupt the operating system, or perform malicious operations unimpeded. According to SentinelOne, the flaws have been addressed in Amazon Nimble Studio AMI, Amazon Nice DCV, Amazon Workspaces, AppStream, NoMachine, ACOPS HiWorks, ACOPS HiWorks DVM tools, Ultima USB Network Gate, MZZ Portal, Windows Z Client, MZZ Portal DVM tools, FlexiHub, and Donglify. In its core, the issue resides in a product developed by Ultima that offers USB over Ethernet capabilities. This has now been addressed by many of these organizations, but a good vulnerability to keep in mind. And just remember, know your shared responsibility model in cloud environments, in SaaS environments, and infrastructure as a service, and PaaS platforms as a service. These types of vulnerabilities can have an impact on you, and you don't even know it. Folks, that's it for our show today. We'll be back with a lot more tomorrow. Until then, have a great rest of your day, and most importantly, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.